Alan Hirsch. I'm a professor at the University of Cape Town. I'm trained as an economist and a historian, but I'm running a school called the Graduate School of Development Policy and Practice, which trains senior leadership in the public sector in Africa in particular, in strategic leadership, management skills. Although my comfort zone is writing and researching and I guess communicating, I just felt that I was living in a society where sitting on the recording side of the table wasn't nearly as interesting as sitting on the acting side of the table. So I decided I was going to make an effort to go into government, do what I could in this period of history that was very, very exciting. It's kind of moment that comes in the life of every nation's history every 100 or 200 years, and writing about it would have been really interesting, but actually being in the middle of it was more rewarding. And now I have time to reflect on it and to train other people based on my experiences. So I guess the difficult decision was to say, I'm actually going to do something that isn't really my comfort zone, management, leadership, engagement with senior politicians, rather than writing about them, describing them, sitting on the other side of the table. I guess I learned that we all have the capacity to achieve much more than we think we can, and that stretching yourself and setting yourself goals which seem to be that you wouldn't have considered, if you took a more sober view of things, often is the right thing to do. And that was true when I was in government. I think I was ambitious and I was idealistic, and I think it served me to be idealistic rather than to be careful and cynical. And then, moving out of government and setting up an entirely new institution in a university with no money, essentially a smoke and mirrors operation for the first couple of years. The first person I employed was a communications person to pretend that something actually existed. And in the end, it happened. So I guess I learned that, again, that you can do amazing things, if you really stretch yourself. We're trying to teach them how to do things in a way that are appropriate for the environment in which they're operating. So, if you're in Burundi on the one hand, or Mauritius, say, on the other hand, I'm talking about African examples. The political economy, all the environmental issues are very different. So what we're trying to do is to teach people to think strategically about their environment and to implement the kind of programs that can work in their environment and that can to develop strategic alliances and to engage strategically with their environment in such a way that they can actually implement it. And that's not something that comes very easily. Best practice often isn't relevant, especially if you're in a society that is, just recently been in conflict or in a failed state kind of situation. To try and get people to respond in a way that is appropriate to their environment, not to make them less ambitious, but to train them to tailor their ambitions to the circumstances that they're in. Lessons of governance, what the role of leaders are, the importance of knowing where your responsibilities end and the responsibilities of your subordinates begin, the importance of finding the right people and giving them enough space and the right kind of environment to be effective. Those lessons are coming through to me very strongly now. I've learned from leaders that I've worked with. I worked with the former Deputy President of South Africa, Phumzile Mlambo Ngcuka, who's now the head of UNIFEM. She was recently appointed there, a wonderful woman. I loved working with her. And she made an enormous effort. Every important program that we developed together, every policy change, she engaged with a very, very wide range of stakeholders and built a very strong level of support for implementation long before we were ready to go public on those programs. She was in a position where she was politically unpopular, but she was able to achieve a huge amount because of her style of stakeholder engagement. You need to cooperate to implement your programs from before the programs are even developed to the time that through the time that you're developing policies to the point of implementation makes a huge difference in the effectiveness of those programs. So, I can understand. I think I understand much better now what works and what doesn't work. In difficult leadership situations.